Okay, Psych 250 students, we're going to finish up with Chapter 12. We're talking about the case study of Sarah and Alzheimer's. It does affect a lot of people, and of course it changes families, as we found out, having to deal with elder parents who are starting to lose their memory and needing a lot more care than the family can provide, especially if this family is spread out and in far distances. See early signs, and one shouldn't be too dismissive of the early signs. I know that we use humor a lot to mask the things that are wrong with us, but better to be checked out, and then you can act appropriately. Again, no cure yet, but certainly some medications that can deal with some of the other related conditions. Which essentially is happening is that the brain's chemistry and makeup is starting to change. So we don't have a whole lot of control over what our brain does, but we do have control over our environment, how well we take good care of ourselves. For example, there has been a link between being diabetic and having Alzheimer's. A lot of us have diabetes in our family, certainly I do. And so we have to be cognizant, especially if we see that Alzheimer's is part of our family history. Fortunately, we're working on this. There are good treatments, but not something that can stop Alzheimer's at this point in time. Some people never get it. Some people clearly just have a life where they're always sharp, even in advanced ages. We see sleep patterns tied to Alzheimer's patients, having poor sleep. And I stress this all the time to my college students. It's not the quantity of sleep you get, it's the quality of your sleep. And you know this as well as anybody. If you don't get the quality sleep, then that day is kind of wasted because you're spending so much time trying to catch up, so to speak. Let's shift gears a little bit to Parkinson's. With Parkinson's, we have a neurological illness in which there's tremors, the muscles can get rigid, there can be possible cognitive deterioration. I recently saw an interview with the actor Alan Alda, and he mentioned this notion of being cognizant of Parkinson's and knowing that some Parkinson's patients report acting out their dreams. And he gave an example where he was being attacked by something. And what he did was he merely threw a sack of potatoes at his nemesis. And when he woke up, he realized that he had thrown his pillow at his wife. So he was suspicious that, this could be one of the signs that I might have Parkinson's. So he went to his doctor, and the doctor said, nah, you really don't need a brain scan because you don't have any of the symptoms. So he insisted. And when the scan came back, the doctor said, you were 100% correct. You do have this. And thanks to his own advocacy, sometimes you have to be an advocate on your own behalf because nobody else is going to do it, right? We've had some famous people get Parkinson's, and of course, one of the famous Most famous people is the actor Michael J. Fox. You might have seen him in the Back to the Future movies as well as television programs. And he reported having some mild symptoms after making one of the movies, and it progressively got worse. He was early onset Parkinson's, and he's done a lot on behalf of Parkinson's patients to try to promote awareness of the illness and support for research. He even went so far to get some brain surgery done. We wish him well. Another famous person with Parkinson's was Muhammad Ali. Of course, we see that any kind of sport activity, and Muhammad Ali, if he were still alive, would tell you probably the same thing. He once recommended a young man do not get into boxing because you should find another way to make a living. It's a brutal sport. And obviously, he was in the boxing profession for a long, long time, and the consequences to his body were tremendous. Think about such a brilliantly individual with incredible verbal intelligence, right? Just a quick-witted, extremely charismatic individual who gets reduced to no language at all, essentially. Have you ever felt confused? Perhaps you took a substance that made you a little bit spacey. That could be a case of delirium. And there's a lot of reasons why delirium can occur. Sometimes the symptoms are short-term, sometimes a little bit longer. Beware of head injuries, right? High blood pressure can lead to strokes. Head injuries can lead to other ailments. Anytime you get a blow to the head, you lose consciousness, you're in danger. So I always promote, and I've promoted this with my students. One time I even gave a helmet to a student who I saw riding on campus all the time, not wearing a helmet. Please protect the brain. Why? Because I brain you, right? It always discourages me when I see parents riding with their children on bicycles and the children all have their helmets on and the parents don't. The parents are the ones that's supposed to be taking care of the kids. So if there is a head trauma, kids are going to probably be fine. Parents, not so much. Right? Concussions. There's even been talk of soccer players even wearing some protective headgear, and some do. But imagine all the people, especially in sports like football, who over the years suffered concussions, but just were told, shake it out, get back into the game. Right? Now we have protocols to see if people should even re-enter that game or multiple games afterwards. Maybe they need just to rest and let their brain rest, right? And I know people resisted forever to acknowledge this because there's money involved. And as soon as you start changing the profession, people don't want to invest the money. In hockey, for example, they used to play without helmets. Even the goalies played without masks, protective gear. And when the helmets were first introduced, the players who wore them were criticized because a real hockey player doesn't wear a helmet. Well, people got smart about that, right? Traumatic brain injuries, we've learned a lot about the brain and damage to the brain, unfortunately due to war circumstances. And it's not just a blow to the head that can cause a traumatic brain injury, but sometimes we're finding that the shock waves of bombs can cause damage. So any kind of incredible shake that can occur, and these shock waves produce those, you've got the brain moving in its skull, and that's not good. We see this in accidents. Maybe there's not a blow to the head, but in a car accident, the body is rocket forwarded and rocket back, and that can cause contusions to the brain. Folks, watch the salt. When I was younger, I got checked, my blood pressure got checked, and it was extremely high, and the doctor on duty said, you need to cut down on salt, try a salt substitute, just cut down on salt. So I did, and then I went back for another blood check or blood pressure check, and it was normal. It's been normal since that time. As a matter of fact, I don't think I ever had problems with blood pressure, but by me not eating salt all that time, now I'm super sensitive to salt. I mean, I can taste salt before it's even in the food, right? So whenever my wife cooks, she has to reduce the salt because it's just too salty for me. That's what happens. That's what your body does over the years. It gets used to certain substances or not used to certain substances. Because I would like to be around this planet to eventually star in my own movie, The Real Spider-Man, or The Old Spider-Man, because there's multiple Spider-Man. And I don't want to lose my life due to a stroke. Stress, I can try to manage that as best I can. And we all get stressed from different things. And so that's why I work into those things I look forward to. I'll go for my walkabout every day. I'll go do something fun, like go to the antiques shops or collectible shops, which I did today. So that's my reward for dealing with all the stress that I'm bombarded with, right? Don't bother trying to give me a substance that's going to alter my brain chemistry. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of prescribed medications that we take that can do this. But if it's just to get high, I'll pass. I don't want to scramble my brain at all. The environment plays a role. It's wonderful to have support, people who are able to know about what's going on with us neurocognitively and support us. Families can get help from agencies, learn about that support, and to try the proper facilities, like in the case study of Sarah, to find the best possible situation for that individual. Caregivers need support too. It's very taxing for a person to look at, especially a loved one, who's starting to deteriorate before their eyes. This is somebody that took care of you, and now you have to take care of them, and you just want them to get better. And that doesn't always happen. Okay, let's talk about the questions. I think you already know one question. One question, of course, deals with the case study of Sarah. Talk about it in detail, as well as what the diagnosis was. The second question deals with Parkinson's. Do a little exploration about this illness and talk about some of the famous cases, including folks like Muhammad Ali and Michael J. Fox. I think these are questions you can handle with your eyes closed. Don't do that. Keep your eyes open, right? Thank you for tuning in. Can't wait for the next chapter.